Everyone, welcome to Eagle Eye presented by Nissan with Reuben Frank. I'm Dave Zangaro. Reuben, this was a tough loss for the Eagles, a game they probably should have won.
They should have won this game, and disappointing. As good as everything looked a week ago in Atlanta, it looked just as bad, really, in all aspects, offense, defense. I thought defense wasn't terrible, but certainly a lot of room for improvement in some specific areas, and special teams was kind of bad in a few instances too. So I think the offense is the main culprit. They lost the game, but not a whole lot of positives to take out of this one.
Yeah, and we talked about complementary football last week. This was an example going the other way. I don't think any of the three phases helped the other. They didn't pick them up. So a tough loss. Ends up being a 17-11 final. The Eagles had a chance late in the game. They scored a touchdown. They get the 2-point conversion. They have a chance to stop them, but with no timeouts left, 49ers get a first down, and that's it. What's your biggest takeaway from this game?
Biggest takeaway is that Nick Sirianni is not quite the play caller that I thought he was, I guess. I thought he had a bad day calling plays. I just thought he could never get this offense in a rhythm. He could never get Jalen in a rhythm. We talked last week about how those deep balls are low percentage plays, and they hit one of them. That's great, but they took a bunch of them. There was no mid-range game. And they ran the ball too much. I thought, you have these weapons, you have all these weapons you've accumulated, and there really wasn't a whole lot of effort to get them the ball. And I think the 49ers covered well, and I thought they pressured well. I thought defensively they did some good things. Obviously, Bosa is a beast. But after other than two Quez catches, one was 26 and one was 91. I mean, there's no offense. And there was, you can't just keep handing the ball to a running back and taking off as a quarterback. I mean, that seemed like the whole offense was, for most of the day, was just Hurts running and handoffs to Miles Sanders. You look at the numbers. Gainwell had 18 yards. Devontae had 16. Reagor had 5. Ertz had 6. Miles had 4 in the receiving yards here. Those are your weapons. None of them had more than 2 catches. I just didn't see a lot of trying to get those guys the football. And I felt like Jalen was making one read and then taking off a little too much. So all that kind of works together. But I just thought the offense was out of sync and never got into a rhythm. And that's Nick's job, is to get him into rhythm. I did not like his play calling at all today.
Yeah, I didn't think his play calling was good. I thought there were some instances where I did like what they did on occasion. I really liked the sprint option they ran. I thought that was a good play, and I think we're probably going to see more of that at times.
Well, there were a couple of good plays. I love the call from, deep in, when you're in the soup, where they're at the 3-yard line or whatever. I love taking a deep shot on first down. I thought that was aggressiveness I liked. I think there's, certainly a time and a place for it, but there are individual plays, but I'm just talking overall. I just thought they never really got into a rhythm where, it was balanced between pass and run. Like they'd get a good run, they'd run it 6 times in a row. Like the whole idea of you running it, make them defend that, and then take them by surprise and chuck it. I did not like the play call. I'm repeating myself, but I just didn't like it at all.
Did you like the play calling though?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good.
The one play that stood out to me, aside from, we'll get to the goal line series shortly, but the 3rd and 6 draw play, that was kind of a head scratcher. I guess they saw something there, or maybe Jalen checked to that play based on what the defense was showing, but you can't run the ball in 3rd and 6 unless you're in 4-down territory. That play was strange. And look, for me, the big takeaway is just they missed so many opportunities in this game. Really, we're going to talk about that goal line stand. That was obviously the one that everyone's going to talk about. But Jalen Reagor putting himself out of bounds can't happen. It can't happen because he makes such a great play on the ball. And that was one of Hurts' best throws of the night or of the day. And they don't get points out of that. And then they don't get points on that drive at all because Jake Elliott has the low kick into a defender. So that Reagor's got to stay in bounds there. He does everything else right, but that was a huge shift in this game.
Yeah, and it was a physical play, and he was getting pushed. He was getting jostled. That's what cornerbacks do. And Nick, after the game, said, he's got to give himself a little more room there. So if he does get pushed, he's not out of bounds. He's still in bounds. You'd like to have him beyond that. There was a lot of plays like that. I thought that really could have, gotten them over the hump and made it a different game. I always felt like if they got a lead, they were going to win the game. They were never able to do it, but certainly Rager.
That touchdown would have pushed it to a 10-0 game.
Yeah,
and instead, we saw it happen. That was huge.
Yeah, and again, it's you don't want to be super critical of the kid. I thought he showed really good focus to catch the ball when he was obviously getting jostled. But
it's a mistake, but it's an encouraging play.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think it was encouraging overall to see. But so there were so many of those spots where if one thing's different, they win the game, but they just couldn't get any of those breaks.
Okay, let's talk about the series at the goal line. So Quez Watkins has the 91-yarder. He got caught on that, which was, kind of surprising. I expected him to really pull away, and it looked like he just, he got it was tangled up after the catch, and he never was able to get the full speed.
He lost his balance just a little bit.
Yeah. I really thought he was going to pull away and no one was going to catch him. And the defender had an angle on him. So he gets stopped. And then right away, they started to flounder a little bit. But then a defensive pass interference, Devontae Smith on Josh Norman. The second one that Devontae drew on Josh Norman puts him at the 1-yard line. You got first and goal from the 1-yard line and you don't score. It can't happen.
Can't happen. It's just inexcusable. And I didn't like that whole series there, that whole stretch of plays was, I thought, sloppy. I don't think the plays were called well. I don't think they were executed well. I just felt like they just didn't have a chance. I'm just looking at the play-by-play. The first and goal was the short pass to Zach in the right side of the end zone. It never had a chance. And then just a Miles Sanders run that wasn't blocked well. He just had nowhere to go. He ran
to the right side where you have a rookie starting or playing, not starting.
Yeah, Dickerson was in by there. So he lost 3 yards. Now you're in, third and goal, and that was Hurts who again ran to the right. Never really had an angle. Never had an angle on the end zone. And then the fourth down play, I didn't care for it all. I felt the whole series there. I don't think anything really was attacking the 49ers going forward. I think I kind of think if Jalen Hurts falls down 4 times, he's getting in.
Right.
It was a little bit of a long one, but it wasn't that long.
And that was the reasoning for Nick not trying a QB sneak. That was his reasoning after. But at least he accepted blame for that. He put it on himself, and rightfully so. Those plays weren't good. The fourth down play, it makes you think. If thinking back, it wasn't exactly the Philly special, but it's designed to basically do the same thing. You get the defense leaning one way and make your quarterback the receiver. It was covered so well that the 49ers were in zone coverage. And Nick brought up the fact that the 49ers played it well. They disguised that coverage because it looked like they had a man in motion and the defender went with them. So I think their key in their head was that, okay, we're in man, and they weren't. And then that's a tough play to run against his own defense. And we saw that. And it makes you think back to the Super Bowl because Doug gets so much credit for running it because it worked. Can you imagine if that failed in the Super Bowl?
I can't imagine. No, yeah. I can't go there mentally at this point. But I just didn't. I didn't like any of the concepts of any of those plays. And
then Greg Ward on that play. I don't want to let him off the hook.
Yeah,
you're a former quarterback. You have to know the situations. I don't know if he threw the ball away. It looked like a throwaway.
He threw it away.
I don't know. I don't understand. It's fourth down. At least you try to run for it. or you throw it into an area where maybe you get a defensive pass interference, gives you new life. Maybe a ball gets tipped up in the air and you catch it. You can't worry about an interception or a fumble there.
I don't think he's worried about his passer rating, but
yeah, it was strange. I mean, you don't want to say, look, anymore. He hasn't been a quarterback in a long time, but quarterback before. You have to know the situation there, and you have to. And it's not like he didn't have time. He had time because it was covered. He had time to assess it and to figure out, like, I got to run for this, or I got to throw it into triple coverage if you need to in that spot.
Yeah, maybe he gets tipped up in the air. There's a penalty. A lot of things can happen. Nothing good can happen if you throw it 10 yards over Jalen Hurts' head.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we talked about complementary football. The defense then gives up a 97-yard touchdown drive. And that was it. The Eagles never rebounded.
Yeah. Yeah. That whole sequence, it was the first time in Eagles history. It was the longest play in Eagles history that did not result in a touchdown.
Wow. On that drive.
Well, yeah.
Well, yeah, I didn't want to make it seem like it was. Was it the longest play that wasn't a touchdown? Or was it the longest play?
It was a 93-yarder to Herschel Walker against the Giants in 1994. That was not a touchdown, but Randall Cunningham threw a touchdown pass to Mark Bavaro to cap that drive. I
just wanted to differentiate there.
Yeah. So, it's inexcusable. That can't happen. And you get a 91-yard chunk play. It was a beautiful play. I'll have to watch it again. I never saw a good replay. If Quez could have maybe made a better effort to get in, I think he kind of lost his balance and didn't have a great angle to the end zone. But who knows? A lot of things would have been different if you got in. They probably win the game.
Yeah, this is a game that's perfect for looking back and going, there was this and there was that and there was this and there were so many chances. I thought the Eagles were, for a lot of this game, the better team.
Yeah, I did too. The Niners, and I'm not a big Kyle Shanahan fan, but I thought they were well coached. I thought he outcoached Nick today. They took a lot of things went really badly for the 49ers. They dropped passes. They didn't look good. I mean, I think they had like 64 yards at the end of the first half. I looked up, they had like 60. Quez had more yards on that one play than the Niners had in the game. But they kept scrapping. They're a tough team. They're physical. They just kept fighting, and they finally, they figured out a way. It's a tough win on the road. The West Coast team coming into the East Coast. They were the better coach team. They were the better team, even though we were talking about this after the game. I picked the Eagles. You picked the Eagles. I don't regret that pick. I like that pick because I thought they were. On
the last podcast, I was leaning toward picking the 49ers.
No, you picked the 49ers.
No, I didn't. We can go back to the tape. I said I'm leaning that way. I reserved the right to change it, and I did. And I stand by my pick of the Eagles because I thought they played at times well enough to win this game. Well, they obviously didn't, but I thought they were the better team in a lot of areas. And I think
a lot of their issues were self-inflicted. And
absolutely.
Yeah, and I think that's what tells me they really should have won the game. Score big with the AAA Eagles MVP membership, along with the superb roadside assistance and discounts you've come to expect from AAA. Get exclusive Eagles-related perks. For all the details, visit AAA.com/Eagles.
Reuben, aside from losing this game, Eagles also lose two pretty important players, Brandon Graham and Brandon Brooks. We don't know the extent as we sit here, at 6 o'clock on Sunday evening, of Brandon Brooks, but Brandon Graham, it's a torn Achilles. He's out for the season. There's no way to sugarcoat it. It's an enormous loss for this team.
Yeah, this is a guy who hadn't missed a game with an injury in 10 years. I think he started his rookie year on PUP, I believe. But, a huge loss. He's such a leader. He's a guy that everyone in the building, from secretaries to, cafeteria workers, everybody loves Brandon Graham. He's been here for a decade. He's played more games in the Eagles uniform than any other defensive lineman in franchise history. He's a Super Bowl hero. He's a future Eagles Hall of Famer. to see him go down. And he's still a good player. I mean, he's 33, but he's still a really good pass rusher and a relentless run defender. He's
as good as he's ever been.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And you could feel it really had an effect on the team when just seeing him, a guy's never been hurt, seeing him hobble off, it just didn't seem real. And then they were calling for the card. I just couldn't believe it. I mean, this is BG. You think of him as just indestructible, there's people out there that their entire life as an Eagles fan, Brandon Graham has been a part of this franchise. And, maybe he'll play again. I mean, he's 33. This is a really serious injury. Who knows what's going to happen? But for this team, for Nick, it's an enormous loss. I mean, I would say BG and Kelsey are the two guys. They're probably equals as far as players. I mean, maybe Kelsey's, I guess, a little bit better if you want to compare. But you know what I mean. They're just all-time Eagles, Super Bowl heroes, parade heroes, future Eagles Hall of Famers, and it's really, really tough to lose a guy like that.
Yeah, it was tough to watch Fletcher on field and after the game. On field, that was our first indication that it was really serious because Fletcher was kind of standing over him, and we just see him turn away real quick, and you could tell right there, like, all right, this is about injury. And then him talking about it after the game, it's tough, and it's like it's so easy to say we got to move on to the next play, but you're right. I think it really did. It was jarring for a lot of his teammates to see that, and the 49ers scored on that drive. It was
right.
Not to say that one led to the other, but there might have been some correlation there. And it's a tough loss going forward. I know they're deeper at defensive end than some other positions, but they use all that depth because they rotate. So now they're going to rely on Ryan Kerrigan as a starter, you'd assume, or they'll move Josh Sweat or Derek Barnett to the other side. And now Teron Jackson moves up into the rotation where, let's be honest, he hasn't really shown much yet. He was kind of a non-factor when he got, at least on first watch, when he got more snaps on Sunday. So he's going to need to step up and be a little bit better. As a 6th-round pick, that's a big ask. But yeah, as deep as they are at end, they were using every bit of that depth to their advantage. Now they lost a big piece of it.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, that depth was, the way they're rotating, it wasn't like depth in case someone got hurt. It was a depth as far as we're playing everybody. We have a lot of guys here. Obviously, the guy that's got to raise his game is Derek Barnett. And we've talked so much about him. He made an impact on this game in the wrong way, like he often does with the penalties. He's got to be a player. He's got to be. Just a
bonehead mistake.
That was terrible. It was awful.
It happens too much. And look, I generally defend Barnett on this podcast because you hate him so much.
I don't hate him.
I know.
He's underachieved as the 14th pick in the draft.
Yeah, I get that. And I generally defend him because I think he does a lot of things that don't show up in the stat sheet. I think he is a penetrator, and I think he gets good pressure. But there's just no way to excuse that idiotic penalty. Just no way. It's away from the play. It had no impact on the play, and he's just taking a shot at a running back.
And it would have been
smarter than that.
It would have been an 8-yard loss because they gained 7 yards. It would have been an 8-yard loss. It would have been, like 3rd and 15 at a pivotal moment in the game. He does that way too much. He's just not a disciplined player. I don't think he ever will be.
And for no reason. That's the thing. Look, if it's a bang play and you hit someone helmet to helmet, it's not ideal. You got to try to avoid it, but you understand why it happened.
Oh,
there's no reason for you to hit a guy 10 yards away from the play when the play's already out of bounds.
Yeah, and he has a reputation, so
he's going to get called. Yeah,
nothing's going to get by these refs when he does it. It's one thing if a guy pushes you and you push him back, and they only see the second one. That happens, and that's still stupid. But this is just. I don't know if it's frustration because he's not getting sacks. He's got 19 and a half in his career as the 14th pick in the draft, and he's in his 5th year.
I don't think that's the reason. I think he's just a bonehead player.
Maybe that's it. But that was a terrible one, and it's not the first.
And that was, in my opinion, just way worse than the Kayvon one, which, by the way, I still haven't seen a decent replay on. The Kayvon one looked like it was, man, it really looked like the offensive player led with his helmet, and his head went down, and Kayvon hit him. It was such a bang play, and that was a really bizarre one. The referees did not do a good job. The officials didn't do a good job of explaining what the heck was going on, because all of a sudden the Eagles defense is back on the field and we didn't know why. And Fox waited a half hour to show that replay.
Yeah, and I mean, we all thought it would be. I thought it was going to be an illegal block on the return. That's
what it normally is in that situation. Discipline in general in this game was not great. I mean, you have that play, you have a few others and penalties were an issue in the first game too. So if we're talking about coaching, I think that falls on coaching a little bit, right?
Yeah, let me give you a Reuben nose. The Eagles have committed 22 penalties. That's the most they've committed. That's the most they've committed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been committed. I should know. No, it's the most they've committed in their first two games since 1947.
Yeah.
They did go to the NFL championship game that year. They lost to the Cards. Stop it.
I didn't say anything.
Don't do it. But yeah, it is a reflection on coaching. I mean, they talk about being disciplined and being smart and being fundamentally sound. And these are, some of them get bad call here and there, but for the most part, they're really disturbing penalties. It's a bad trend. You're just not going to win a lot of games committing that many penalties, especially in key moments.
That's fair. All right, so we talked about Brandon Graham, and now the rotation's a little thinner. Ryan Kerrigan will probably start, and maybe we'll see a little more Tron Jackson. Without Brandon Brooks, we don't know the severity yet. Landon Dickerson steps in. I thought he got off to a pretty rough start. Even on the Quez Watkins play, he got pushed back into Hurts' lap a little bit. Look, it's a tough spot for a rookie to come in. He hadn't gotten any reps with Lane Johnson until this past week, and he only got them because they were kind of resting Brooks on Wednesday. It's got to be Dickerson moving forward if Brooks isn't out there. How long do you think it'll take for him and Lane to get on the same page? And look, we know Dickerson's talented, but how long will it take for that to work?
Yeah, it's going to be a process. And look, there's a reason they drafted him, and I think he's going to be a really good player. But he just started practicing. I wonder if maybe they would have been better served by putting Herbie in there, a guy who's played in the NFL. He started games. He's played next to Lane. He had a full, healthy training camp. He knows the offense. I think Landon at some point is going to be the guy, but I just wonder if they rushed him a little bit. If he doesn't have that comfort level with Lane, maybe it should have been Herbie. I don't know. I mean, if you put in Herbie, then why did you draft this guy in the second round? But I think it's going to take a few weeks. Honestly, I mean, it's a new scheme. It's a new level. Physically, he's got to get used to the NFL. I mean, we kind of look at him as being this Superman because he's so talented, but it's a tough adjustment for anyone. He didn't have a training camp, so it's a tough ask.
Yeah, you got to think he's probably not in top shape just yet because he missed so much practice time. He missed all the training camp, and he's only been back on the field for a couple weeks here.
And they're playing tempo out there on a hot day or a warm day. Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah, and he's going to be, he's going to be the right guard next week unless Brooks is back. It's not going to be Herbig. It's going to be Landon Dickerson, and they're just going to have to try to get him every rep they can this week.
Yeah, I think from here on out, it's got to be Dickerson. I'm just my thought when he came in was, is he ready for this? Maybe he played better than Herbie would have. I don't know. I don't think Nate Herbig is a elite player, but he has played in the league and he started games, and he and Lane have a background together. He started games at right guard. So, Brandon Brooks is, when he's healthy, has been such an incredible player. But I mean, this keeps happening. You just wonder, maybe he'll get back. We don't know a whole lot.
It looks like a pec injury if it's the chest. So
yeah, so potentially very serious. So I mean, you don't want to be cold-hearted about it, but the Eagles need to figure out who their right guard is, and they got to find a guy that can, who can stay healthy, who can go out there, and play every Sunday.
Yeah, and you're right. He's been hurt a lot over the last few years. He obviously missed all last year. The year before, he missed the playoff game. So, yeah, he's a great player when healthy, but now that he's 32, and we talked about the strength of this team is the offensive and defensive line as long as those units are healthy. And we talked at length about how much they're relying on older players at both of those positions, at both of those position groups. And all of a sudden here in week 2, we're talking about 2 potentially serious injuries to 2 of their older players on the line. So it's hard to say these are surprises. I mean, Graham is, because he's hasn't really been hurt, but not a great start to the season when you're talking about the 2 biggest strengths of this team.
Right, exactly. And, we kind of knew with the 17-game schedule, they were playing with fire a little bit with this older nucleus on the line. We've talked about it. And, it was a little risky. I didn't think it would be this soon that it caught up to him. But this is why your draft picks have to be able to play. You're younger guys. So we'll see. I mean, it's kind of unfair to expect Teron Jackson the guy was he's a late round rookie. I mean, Ryan Kerrigan to me is the guy that's really got to perform. He's a Pro Bowler as recently as 2 or 3 years ago. Dave Spadaro said on the WIP pregame show that I was on that Ryan Kerrigan has to get in shape. So when Dave Spadaro is calling a guy out, that's...
Yeah, well, that's interesting because Kerrigan, sure, he missed time in training camp, but it was a thumb injury. He should be in shape.
He should be in shape. You can do cardio with a thumb injury.
Yeah.
So that was
I did actually think he had some rushes that were pretty good on Sunday.
He had a couple, yeah. But he's going to have to play more than he has in a while.
Yeah, and the other option, instead of giving Teron Jackson snaps, is to kind of make Milton Williams more of a full-time end instead of a tackle, which he did a lot of in training camp. And with his versatility, that does give them the flexibility to say, all right, well, now you're an end because we need you there.
Yeah, and he seems to be pretty good at it. I think they're going to have to use him at least to some extent outside. I don't think there's any question. At Nissan, we just made your choice for a new car an easier one than ever with our most exciting and fuel-efficient lineup. Choice is all yours. Now get great offers across our full line. Shop your local Nissan store today at nissanusa.com.
What did you think of Jalen Hurts on Sunday?
I don't think he played well. I give Nick some of the blame because I don't think he did a good job getting him into a rhythm. There was no mid-range game. I think that's, everything was a deep shot or just a little dump off. And it's tough to win like that against a decent team. He obviously made a couple of great throws. One was called back, the Rager one. But I didn't see the consistency that I need to see throwing the ball. I thought he rushed things. I thought he was a little too much of a first read guy and then taken off a little bit. We saw a little bit of that. I thought he got muddled. I thought his court awareness in the pocket wasn't as, I think he only got sacked once, but he got into traffic. He got into the soup a little bit there. I don't know. I just wasn't, there was just something wasn't there. I need to see progress Monday night, definitely.
Yeah, I thought that there were a couple of those deep shots where he underthrew the ball. And I think it was not just he underthrew him, but I think he held the ball a little longer than he should have. And if he releases it earlier, he doesn't need to throw it as far. So, and that's kind of a strange thing because he is I do think he's a pretty good deep ball thrower in general. And I didn't think he threw them very well.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, because we're talking about deep balls.
Well, the one deep ball, and I think it was to Rager. I mean, his footwork was bad. He kind of was moving his feet as he threw and falling back to his right just a little bit, and it was underthrown. And I mean, that's, they've worked a lot on his fundamentals and setting his base, and he's got a big arm. He can throw the ball a long way, but I mean, on that one, he just didn't get his feet set, and when you do that, you're going to underthrow it.
Yeah. He did some nice things with his legs, I thought. I mean, I thought there were some plays where he just took what they gave him. There was no one on that side of the field, so yeah, I'll run for 12. Why not? There were some of those plays, and I like that. I think that there's always going to be a balance to strike with him between the legs and the arm. I didn't say it. I didn't say a fine line. There's always going to be that balance, and he's not always going to hit it right, but I thought there were some moments where he made the right decision. You brought up sometimes he didn't, but I thought there were some times where he made the right decision on Sunday too and picked up some yards.
That's fair. You're not going to win too many games in the NFL completing 12 passes. No, he threw for 190 yards. Half of that was on one play, almost half of it. Devontae never got involved. The tight ends never got involved.
The tight ends, the first catch came in the third quarter for the tight ends. Yeah. They opened up in 12 personnel.
Yeah. Those are two, if you're looking at the mid-range, Greg Ward's a guy that maybe needs to see Greg Ward in the slot a little bit just to kind of get him some easy completions. So the 8 to 12 yard. I mean, I'm just looking here. There was a 91 to Quez. There was a 40. There was a 26 to Quez. Then there was a 14 to Goddard. His next longest throw was an 11 to Devontae. So he completed 3 passes of 10 or more yards to wide receivers. One for 91, one for 26, and one for 11. I mean, you have all these wide receivers. We made such a big deal. They can run, they're fast, they catch the ball, they're confident, they have great chemistry with Jalen Hurts. He completed 3 passes of 10 yards or more to his wide receivers in an NFL football game. How many yards other than the one Quez bomb did the wide receivers have? 26, 42, about 50? Not even. How many balls did they catch? Quez caught 2, Devontae caught 2, Rager caught 2. That was it. Six completions by the wide receivers, 3 for 10, over 10 yards. It's not going to do it in this NFL.
No, and especially against the team that came into this game decimated. They're starting what's left of Josh Norman at cornerback today, and
Jared Goff threw for 338 and 3 touchdowns last week, and I'm not a Jared Goff fan. I just there was some sort of, again, it's hard to tell if it's just Jalen, if it's just Nick. I'm sure it's a combination of both, but you got to get the ball in your best player's hands. You got to find ways to do it. That's what this offense was supposed to be about. Get the ball in the best player's hands with high percentage plays, and let them make plays with the ball. And I think when you're taking as many deep shots, what did you take? 5 deep shots today, like bombs?
Mm-hmm.
It's tough, if you hit it, great, but if you don't, now you're in a 2nd and 10 and you're running the ball okay, but not great. It's tough to get into a rhythm when you're missing on those shots.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I didn't think it was a very good game from Hurts. And really across the board offensively, left a lot to be desired. I don't want to let the defense off the hook completely because I thought they had poor drives in key areas, but overall, they gave up 17 points. It wasn't enough to win the game, and they could have done better, but your offense has got to score more than 11.
2 things on the defense. They still haven't forced a turnover. I thought
they had chances.
They had chances. They two more picks that were, I would say, dropped. I think Anthony Harris had one early. Yeah, there was another one too where the ball got tipped to Harris, like a weird tip to Harris, right? Yeah. And then Steve Nelson, I'm not sure how he didn't come up with that one. Slay had one last week that he kind of batted away, which is the safe play, but I thought he had a chance to pick 6 that one. No turnovers in 2 games. First time since 1996.
And there was the fumble that was on the ground and it popped up and popped out of bounds.
Yeah. So,
and this is a defense that stressed takeaways all training camp.
Yeah. They haven't committed any either, which is kind of weird.
That is weird.
No turnovers in an Eagles game yet. I have to look that up. But and also, again,
I can see the little glimmer in your eye thinking about if that's ever been done before.
No sacks by an edge rusher or defensive end so far. They had 3 sacks in the opener, all by interior linemen, 2 by Hargrave, 1 by Ridgeway. So we've spoken a lot about these pass rushers, and I don't think Sweat's played bad. I think he's made an impact. BG was playing really well before he got hurt. But you need sacks. And I don't think Jimmy Garoppolo is not a guy to get rid of the ball quick. I mean, I thought early on he was doing that because they were a little afraid of the rush, but their O-line played pretty well, I thought, gave him some
pretty
time.
Good O-line.
Yeah. So he had time, and I need to see more and, get those takeaways. There's so few interceptions in the league this year or every year. I mean, it goes down every year just because of the rules. When you have a chance to get your hands on a ball, you got to make that play. Those are game-changing plays. You get any one of those, you might win the game, and they just haven't gotten them.
Yeah. Hey, I wanted to. We don't have this on our little rundown here, but Josh Sweat, the contract extension. I don't want to not mention that. 3 years, $40 million. What did you make of that extension?
Well, I think the Mulata and Sweat extensions are similar in that they're. Like the initial reaction is, I mean, Josh Sweat started 3 games in his career. Mulata started 10. Today was 11. And it's like, that's a lot of money for 2 guys that have barely played. But the way the cap is going to go up and the way contracts work, what sounds like a ton of money, and it's always going to be a ton of money, but relatively in a year, these are not going to be huge contracts. So if these guys are stars, you got them really cheap for the next 4 years. Like incredibly cheap. Even if they're just solid, good players, you got them at a really fair price. I mean, there's going to be average left tackles and average edge rushers making more than this. Well into with a lot of time left in these deals is what I'm saying. They're going to be average deals, in 2 years. So they're great for both sides. I mean, the players get they get a lifetime of security. They get these huge guaranteed money and roster signing bonuses. And
2 day 3 picks who hadn't really made money yet.
Yeah, that's true. A 4 and a 7. And the Eagles get to lock up 2 guys that have a chance to be great, but at the least are going to be good to really good. I think Mulata's floor is very good. Both of them have a very high ceiling. So I think they're both really smart deals, and they're the kind of deals that the Eagles love to do. And if I'm a player, I'm not sure I would do it. If I'm an agent, if I believe in myself, because I mean that cap's going to go up a lot, and these are, I mean, in March these are going to look like chump change. So, but they get the money now and they have it, and they don't have to worry about if I get hurt and I might not ever see it. So they get that security, and the team gets a good player.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, it's easy to say bet on yourself, but if you're Josh Sweat and you're hearing $26 million guaranteed, you're thinking, I'm set for life. My family's set for life. 26 mil. So these are such Eagles moves, locking down an offensive and defensive lineman before their contracts are up, and guys who have high ceilings. I mean, this is from the Joe Banner playbook.
It is. Joe was loving it on social media. I mean, he was like, why did these guys sign these deals? But I like them for the Eagles. So.
Yeah, these are the deals that he was getting done. And he was probably thinking the same thing when he was getting them done. Like, why are these guys signing these deals?
Yeah, it's funny how the Andy Reid and Joe Banner influence, lives on in this franchise.
Yeah. You got anything else in this game before we start to wrap this up?
No, I'm really curious. I mean, I wrote a piece the other day just about how everyone was on such a high coming out of Atlanta, and the vibe around the city and the team was so good. And I thought, it seemed like, all right, people are getting a little carried away here. There's going to be adversity. There's going to be, I don't know, it'll be this soon and, at home. But I want to see how they respond. I want to see how Jalen Hurts responds to a disappointing day, how Nick responds. I mean, he was accountable. He said my play calling was not good enough, which I agree with. Let's see how he responds. That's not an easy place to play. Going down to Texas, going down to Dallas. So Monday night game. I'm really curious how they respond to this.
Yeah, and there's some really tough games coming up because after Dallas, you have the Chiefs, then at Carolina, and then the Bucs. So you're talking about some really tough games. This would have been a big win for the Eagles to start off 2-0. I don't want to lose sight of that because they start off 2-0, then you give yourself a little bit of a buffer. Now that buffer's gone. Your tough games are coming, and on the road in Dallas, where they've struggled to win recently, that's a tough game.
Yeah, it is, and I mean it's national TV. It's a different animal. I mean, playing on Monday Night Football. We'll see. We've talked a lot about how the moment's not too big for Jalen or for Nick. We'll see how they respond to that moment Monday night. I'm really curious to see how that one goes.
Yeah, me too. And we'll talk more about it later in the week.
I'm curious to see what your pick's going to be for Monday night and then what you'll change it to.
I never picked, and I wish I would have picked on the last pod because I would have been locked into a correct pick, but that didn't happen. What does it say about us that someone tweeted at you, and I agree that our pods are better when the Eagles lose?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I'm not sure how to feel about that, but I guess thank you. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. If you enjoy the Eagle Eye podcast, please do us a favor, rate and subscribe wherever you get your pods. If you're watching on YouTube, please click the like button and subscribe there as well. Oh, I forgot to mention he who must not be named left the game early in Indianapolis, so that's something we'll have to keep an eye on this week.
Are you talking about the guy that got intercepted on a shovel pass?
Yes, it was not pretty. And then, but that's something to watch. The Colts lost, which is good news for the Eagles, but he left the game, which is certainly not good news.
What's the percentage meter right now? About 96?
I have to see the snaps. We don't have the snap count yet.
Okay, that's true.
That'll be up on the site in the morning. All right, for Reuben, I'm Dave. This has been Eagle Eye presented by Nissan. We'll talk to you soon.